Good evening. You're watching Independent News. I am Sakhawat Khan. We begin as usual with the headlines. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina asks Khaleda Zia not to hold double standards. She has also criticized Khaleda for her delayed visit to Ramu. BNP chief Khaleda Zia accuses Awami League of attacking Buddhists in Ramu and questions the much-professed secular ideology of the ruling party. Finance Minister A.M.A. Muhid says that political people may be included again in the new board of directors of state-run commercial banks. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has asked BNP chairperson Khaleda Zia not to hold double standards. She also criticized the main opposition chief for her delayed visit to Ramu, where miscreants vandalized and set fire to Buddhist establishments on the 29th of September.
The Prime Minister was speaking at a program to mark the 40th anniversary of the Jubo League, the youth wing of the ruling Awami League. There she questioned Khaleda Zia's delayed tour of Ramu.
After touring India and China, she finally finds the time to visit the Buddhists of Ramu. And after all these days, she started raising demands. Now stop this game of biting someone like a snake and then appearing like a doctor to heal the wound. We won't allow you to play with the people's fate anymore.
Speaking on Khaleda's recent India tour, the Premier said she is not well aware of the details of the issues discussed during the tour.
She has perhaps forgotten the Tista and Tipaimok Dam issues. She becomes vocal about something only when she feels it is right. She sometimes even forgets the issues concerning Bangladesh. However, there is no doubt that she was born in India, in a tea estate in Siliguri.
Awami League leaders also slated the BNP for saying that the Awami League wants Jamaat as an ally.
The BNP says Awami League wants to form an alliance with Jamaat. Then why don't you let go of your alliance with Jamaat? Begum Khaleda Zia, why don't you protest Jamaat's assaults on the police? What kind of a state power do you want?
Speakers of the program also said it is the people of the country, not any other force, that will determine who will rule this country.
BNP chief Khaleda Zia has alleged that it is members of the Awami League who vandalized and torched homes in minority communities during the recent violence in the Ramu area. She also blamed them for illegally occupying places of worship, even though the party professes to be secular. She made the remarks at a rally at Ukia in Cox's Bazar today. Khaleda Zia is currently on a visit to Cox's Bazar and Chittagong to see for herself the damage done to Buddhist temples during the recent violence.
Khaleda Zia visited Marisa Dipankar Buddhist temple on the second day of her visit to Cox's Bazar today. The temple was torched on the 29th of September during the attacks on Buddhists. Khaleda talked to the local Buddhist leaders there. Later, Khaleda addressed a rally at Ukia where she questioned the secular ideology pursued by the Awami League.
The Awami League tortures people of all faiths wearing a mask of secularism. Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians and others are not safe from the Awami League. The country is also not safe in their hands.
The BNP chief said people's lives are not safe under the current government. She called for a united movement against Awami League.
We must isolate the Awami League looters. I call upon everyone to be united to take the country forward. Inshallah, better days will come.
Later, Khaleda Zia visited Potia in Chittagong where she met local Buddhist leaders.
Awami League General Secretary Syed Ashraful Islam has made a call to adopt a formula for an election-time government which will be acceptable to everyone. Syed Ashraf, who is also the LGRD minister, made the call at a program in Khagrachuri today. He, however, said the formula must be within the bounds of the law. Ashraf said the caretaker government system is unconstitutional and that the law must take its own course. BNP leader M.K. Anwar has alleged that the government is trying to gain political benefit from the war crimes trials. He made the allegation at a program in Dhaka today. M.K. Anwar said the BNP also wants the trial, but it must be fair, transparent and must conform to international standards. He said that if the government actually wanted a genuine trial, it would have asked for the handover of 195 Pakistani soldiers accused of war crimes in 1971.
Do you really want to try the war criminals? When the Pakistani foreign minister visited Dhaka, you asked for an apology for 1971 role. But if you really want the trial, why didn't you ask her to hand over the genuine Pakistani war criminals? Actually, you don't want to try genuine war criminals in a fair way.
State Minister for Law Kamrul Islam has said the BNP will soon take to the streets to join the Jamaat in a bid to save war criminals. He made the remark while speaking at a program in the capital today. Kamrul said Jamaat is desperately trying to save the war criminals who are behind bars now. That is why they are attacking law enforcers across the country. He also attributed the recent chaos at a war crimes tribunal by pro-BNP lawyers as part of the same conspiracy.
We have intelligence reports that Jamaat will become even more violent. Khaleda Zia is now supporting them from behind the scenes. But you will see very soon that the BNP will join them on the streets.
The police have filed a number of cases in different districts against leaders and activists of Jamaat-e-Islami over Saturday's clash. Meanwhile, law enforcers have arrested 140 leaders and activists of Jamaat and its associate student body Chhatra Shibir since Saturday night. In Sylhet, police arrested 30 Jamaat activists during its overnight drive. In Rajshahi, 16 Shibir activists were arrested by the police. Law enforcers also sued 70 people in Rajshahi over Saturday's clash. In Lokhipur, police filed a case against 30 Jamaat leaders, including its district president and secretary, and against 200 other unidentified people. In Naugao, police arrested 7 Shibir activists over suspicion of involvement in sabotage. Finance Minister A.M.A. Mohit has hinted that people with political leanings may be included again in the new board of directors of state-run commercial banks. He made the hint when responding to questions by reporters at the Planning Ministry today. Mohit, however, said that the formation of new boards of directors of these banks may take more than a week.
It is a difficult question to answer. What do we actually mean by political people? Political people are also involved in business, industry and education. So some of them can become board members. I'm not sure about it though, you will see later. But it will be a combination of bankers, educationists and others. Not all of them will be political people.
Belarus Prime Minister Mikhail Miasnikovich arrived in Dhaka today on a 3-day official visit. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina received the Belarus Prime Minister at Hazrat Shah Jalal International Airport at noon. Cabinet members, chiefs of the 3 services and other senior government officers were present at the airport. This is the first official visit of a Belarus Prime Minister since the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries in 1991. Bangladesh and Belarus are expected to sign 12 agreements and MOUs during the visit. It's time for a short break now, but let me tell you what's coming up after the break. More than 500 members of Jatiya Party resign and form a new party to protest Jatiya Party backing Masur Rahman Ranga in the Rangpur city polls. A number of commercial banks disregard the central bank's advice not to charge money from people applying for jobs at banks. Welcome back to Independent News. Let's look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina asks Khaleda Zia not to hold double standards. She has also criticized Khaleda for her delayed visit to Ramu. BNP chief Khaleda Zia accuses Awami League of attacking Buddhists in Ramu and questions the much-professed secular ideology of the ruling party. Finance Minister A.M.A. Mohit says that political people may be included again in the new board of directors of state-run commercial banks. More than 500 leaders and activists of the Rangpur unit of Jatiya Party resigned en masse today. They resigned in protest of the party's decision to support Masur Rahman Ranga in the Rangpur mayor election. The leaders and activists who resigned also formed a new party named Trinamool Jatiya Party. They announced this at a media briefing in Rangpur today. Shodor Upazila chairman and mayoral candidate Mustafizur Rahman Mustafa was made the convener of the new party. We have more news now, but with Adnan Hussain. Adnan, all yours.
How are you? Thank you. There is an acute shortage of intensive care units or ICU beds in state-run hospitals when compared to the demand. While many private hospitals do offer ICU services, the expense of availing this is beyond the reach of low and middle-income families. Consequently, many patients in need are deprived of this life-saving service. More in this report.
Najma Akhtar was admitted to the Dhaka Medical College Hospital or DMCH after she was critically injured in a road accident. The doctors on duty said that she needed ICU support, but none of the 20 ICU beds at the hospital was available. Najma's relatives had to search in other hospitals for an ICU bed.
They asked us to take the patient to another hospital to get ICU support. So we took her to the Japan-Bangladesh Friendship Hospital. The doctors examined her there and said they did not have enough facilities. So then we took her to the National Cardiac Hospital.
But Najma had to be brought back to the DMCH because not a single ICU bed was available at any hospital. By this time, Najma Akhtar was beyond any help. Doctors say that according to international standards, a hospital should have an ICU bed for every 10 general beds. On that basis, the 1700-bed DMCH should have had 170 ICU beds. But the largest state-run hospital in the country has only 20 beds.
At the moment, we have a list of 78 patients waiting in line for admission to the ICU, but we just have 20 beds in the hospital. We cannot admit someone until a bed becomes available.
Meanwhile, the expense of an ICU bed in private hospitals is so high that in many cases people have to sell even their properties to bear the expense.
People have to pay 1 or 2 lakh taka just for 2 or 3 days in the ICU of a private hospital. That's why they desperately look for ICU beds in public hospitals.
Among state-owned hospitals in the country, only Mitford, DMCH and the National Orthopedic Hospitals have ICU beds. Outside Dhaka, only some hospitals in Chittagong have ICU beds. As a consequence, a large number of emergency patients across the country do not get ICU facilities when needed.
China has expressed willingness to construct a tunnel under the Kornofuli River. A Chinese delegation expressed the interest at the meeting with Communication Minister Obaidul Qadir at his office today. The delegates said that apart from the Kornofuli Tunnel, China is also interested in providing support to Bangladesh in infrastructure development. Later in the day, the minister made a visit to the BRTA office. During his visit, the police arrested 11 middlemen from the office. The minister also pointed out various irregularities there. Obaidul Qadir asked BRTA authorities to open 2 new counters, one for women and the other for the elderly. Destiny Distributor Forum, an organization of Destiny Group employees, has demanded the opening of a frozen Destiny Bank accounts and the release of all imprisoned Destiny officers. The employees staged a mass hunger strike program at Ramna Park in Dhaka today to push their demands. They claim that Destiny Group has not cheated anyone and that the company is a victim of a conspiracy by a vested quarter. The central bank has advised other banks not to charge money from people applying for jobs at banks. But many commercial banks do not follow the advice, perpetrating the difficulties faced by unemployed applicants. Bank authorities, however, say that the practice of charging money from job applicants will soon be stopped.
A large proportion of the Bangladeshi population is unemployed. Estimates vary from 2.6 million to 30 million. The development of the banking sector has created jobs for educated youths, but most banks ask for a bank draft of 300 or 400 taka to be submitted with each job application. Job applicants consider this an extra burden.
We are unemployed. We are searching for jobs, but they are charging money for our job application. I think it's completely unethical.
It makes difficult for unemployed people like me to apply because they demand money in the form of bank drafts.
The central bank issued a circular 2 years ago advising banks not to charge any money in the recruitment process. But many banks have not followed the advice. Officials of private banks said that they are trying to abolish the system of charging money.
We consider the Bangladesh Bank advice to be appropriate. It should be taken into consideration. Only a small amount may be charged to cover costs.
We are trying to keep the charge at a minimum. In future, with the approval of our executive board, we will try to be at the costs with our own funds and abolish the practice completely.
People concerned in the banking sector said that all banks should follow the advice of the central bank and not charge fees from job applicants.
More news on the stock market. The Dhaka Stock Exchange experienced a fall in its benchmark index on the first day of the week today. The prices of most shares on the country's premier bourse also decreased. The DSE General Index shed 94 points to reach 4,253 at close of day's trading. Of the 271 issues traded, 234 declined, 31 advanced and only 6 remained unchanged. Shares in mutual funds unit worth 3.45 billion taka changed hands. On Thursday, the key index gained 3 points to finish at 4,347. That's all from me. Back to you, Sakhawat.
Thank you. I don't think we have time for anything more. Let's end off there. We'll see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thank you for being with us. Good night.
Good night.